Welcome to Eye on America. I'm Michelle Miller. Today we bring you stories of technological innovations leading the country into the future. In New Mexico, we visit a company creating a greener way to get spacecraft into orbit. And in California, we go for a drive in the latest model of a legendary American car. But we begin with another type of automobile gaining traction, the electric car. EV sales are up 63% nationwide from 2022, leading to an increase in demand for the metals needed to make their batteries. Ben Tracy goes for a deep dive in Michigan to see how AI is helping to source these precious materials.
This underwater robot being lowered into Lake Huron is built by a company called Impossible Metals.
Impossible because this is hard to do?
Yes, very much so.
That's because its job is to mine the bottom of the ocean.
Deep sea mining is the concept of pulling metals off the ocean floor.
Company co-founder Renee Grogan says parts of the ocean floor are filled with potato-sized rocks containing vast amounts of cobalt, copper, and nickel, metals needed to make batteries for electric cars.
How much of this stuff is down there?
A lot. The second question is, how do you get it?
We watched a test of their prototype, which used a retractable arm to pluck rocks off the bottom of the lake. The real thing will be 3 times larger and travel 4 miles down into the deep sea. Each $5 million robotic vehicle uses cameras and artificial intelligence to find rocks that contain metals, but not animal life.
So the claws themselves are driven by the AI and saying, take it, leave it, take it, leave it, to be able to ensure that the ecosystem on the seafloor remains intact.
Typical deep-sea mining uses robot vacuums to dredge the seafloor and could soon be approved in what's known as the Clarion-Clipperton Zone, 2 million square miles of the Pacific Ocean rich with mineral deposits. Scientists are worried that mining here will destroy the habitat of thousands of rare deep-sea species and spread plumes of toxic sediment.
We can't try to save the planet by breaking the planet in the process. Those several years of mining are going to cause centuries of damage.
Renee Grogan says deep-sea mining can be done responsibly with artificial intelligence. She expects her company's technology to be deployed within 5 years, and that could lead to a slight name change.
I'm looking forward to the day we can just, take those
that
two
off.
off and look at that.
Change
It's
the
possible.
name again.
From mining metals to harvesting the sun, there are now over 5,000 solar farms across the country, leading to a new age of energy independence. Carter Evans shines a light on how renewable energy is helping to support our nation's overworked power grids.
Next to the rows of alfalfa, another type of farm is taking root in Kern County, California, one that's harvesting clean, renewable energy.
These panels track the sun all day.
Alicia Knapp is president and CEO of BHE Renewables, owner of SolarStar, one of the largest solar farms in the country, with a peak output of 586 megawatts. How many homes can that power?
About 255,000 California homes.
There are more than 5,000 solar farms across the U.S., producing about 3.5% of the nation's electricity, and dozens of new facilities are being added every month. The increase in available solar energy is a much-needed boost for power grids currently strained by the summer's record-breaking heat. Like a mirage in the desert, the 1.7 million panels that make up SolarStar cover more than 5 square miles of unused farmland. Which is more difficult, acquiring the land or getting the transmission lines to transport the electricity?
Transmission, hands down. And what could make things even more difficult is if your transmission corridor goes between states.
Lorelei Oviatt, Director of Planning and Natural Resources for Kern County, says red tape and delays constructing power lines are holding back solar growth.
When Sacramento tells me that they need 600,000 acres of solar, my question to them is, where's the transmission? And the reason is because people don't like them.
Do people say, I don't want this stuff in my backyard?
They do.
Another issue? Too much solar power is wasted. Does this farm sometimes generate more power than is demanded from it?
Yes, it does. Mainly in the peak of the day.
The most common method to store excess power right now is called pump storage hydropower. It uses the extra electricity to pump water to an uphill reservoir. When the power is needed, the water is released back down through a generator.
You want to be able to maximize the output and store the energy and then use it when you need it.
Knapp says recent advances in technology will soon connect more farms to giant rechargeable batteries that will enable the use of solar power long after the sun goes down.
Coming up, how scientists are making space launches more Earth-friendly. This is Eye on America. The space race has always required cutting-edge technology, but rockets powered by fossil fuel are costly and wasteful. One team is trying to change that. Jeff Glor gets a first look at a new spin on rocket technology.
I think it's going to be 105 today. Welcome to the high desert of New Mexico.
In a remote valley of New Mexico, beyond gates that look like they're straight out of a science fiction movie, an object that seems like alien technology towers above the terrain.
2.2 million tons of steel, and a little bit taller than the Statue of Liberty.
That's right.
This is A33, short for Accelerator 33.
And it's the world's largest diameter vacuum chamber.
It's the brainchild of Jonathan Yaney, founder and CEO of Spin Launch.
So we're standing here underneath the vacuum chamber. This is the main launch vehicle loading door.
Okay.
One of the really interesting features about this particular system is that it's on hydraulics and the entire system can rotate.
Yaney's company has been at it since 2014, but most of the construction on this project took place during the COVID years. It's an idea designed for a new space age that relies on a concept that dates back to the Stone Age, the sling.
This is essentially a sling launch system, which we were using to hunt with 50,000 years ago. It's simply using modern materials and encased in a large vacuum chamber. So what you have is you have an arm that slowly rotates around and around, driven by an electric motor. And once the tip velocity is sufficient for it to be able to carry a spacecraft into space, we simply let go. And it travels outside of the vacuum chamber through the atmosphere in about 30 seconds into space.
The sling in this case is a carbon fiber tether, which spins the launch vehicle or projectile until it hits 5,000 miles an hour, sending it through an airtight membrane hurtling towards space, and eliminating the need to lift all that fuel used in traditional rockets.
Launching in 3, 2, 1.
All new forms of transportation usually seem kind of crazy, whether it's a suspension bridge, a train, an aeroplane, even the automobile. And we arrive at these new innovative methods through the process of experimentation.
To reach the necessary speed, the tether has to operate in a vacuum.
Over here, you have a bank of low vacuum mechanical pumps which extract the sort of first amount of air, and then you have the very, very large high vacuum pump which uses an entirely different type of non-mechanical process to extract the remaining molecules of air out of the chamber, allowing you to achieve high vacuum, which allows us to go hypersonic speeds here at sea level.
So you have zero air in there when it's launched.
About 1/1000th of atmosphere, correct.
Yaney was inspired in part by a 1960s U.S. military program that tried using very large guns to send projectiles into space. The program was eventually abandoned. But Yaney's been obsessed with all things aeronautics since he was a kid, including flying.
I was sitting on my mom's lap when I was like 3 years old, holding the controls, like learning how to fly. So I've kind of been flying these Cessnas my whole life. On some level, flying in the sky, you look up to space, and you say, well, what else is there? And I think it always bugged me that we went to the moon, but then we stopped. We just sort of never went back. It's like we're, as a civilization, we were promised that we were going to have all of this expansion into space, and it just proved to be astronomically expensive. I would love it if we could just give them some wind. Maybe, I mean, you can knock them over, that's fine too, if you want to.
Welcome to the belly of the beast.
Yaney took us inside the launcher
From here we climb.
to see the motor that provides the circulating force, or torque.
So this entire shaft is spinning into the vacuum chamber, and there's a seal around it which prevents the passage of air around it. So these are relatively straightforward industrial systems that combine
Relatively straightforward.
to create something truly unique. Team Jonathan here, go ahead and begin the test rotation now.
How fast is this shaft spinning?
Yeah, this shaft will spin at about 1,200 RPM here in this test facility. So again, fast, but quite a bit slower than your automobile, for example.
Huh. Which brings us back to the projectiles, which will eventually be used to transport satellites and much needed equipment into space.
You want it to be heavy in the front, and then you want it to be light in the back so that it is essentially passively stabilized. It's like a dart. And so you just simply throw it out at a velocity and it self-guides its way on its own trajectory.
These are some of the projectiles they've been using, a third the size of the one they hope will eventually travel nearly 40 miles above the Earth, where a gas engine will engage and help complete its journey into orbit.
This is all about really retiring the risk around the core technology. So I liken it to our Wright brothers moment, when they flew the very first aircraft. They were able to fly a few thousand feet or then a few miles. They certainly weren't carrying passengers across the Atlantic, but it was a very, very pivotal moment because you proved that the technology could work, and from there you then scale and expand.
An added advantage? This transportation device is completely reusable, making the launch system a heck of a lot easier on the planet.
It represents really the electrification of the space transportation industry. We're seeing so many of these transportation industries becoming electrified right now, yet rockets in their inherent nature rely upon simply pushing massive amounts of combusted products out the back of the rocket. It's really the only way historically to get to space. So you have to employ a system like spin launch if you want to reduce the carbon footprint of space access, which is incredibly important.
With every phase, the centrifuge has gotten bigger. After 10 successful launches here in New Mexico, Spin Launch is already looking at what's next. A centrifuge 3 times as large as A33. The Spin Launch final phase. Location to be determined.
And when do you think Spin Launch is going to actually be putting things into orbit?
We're going to see Spin Launch putting things in orbit, certainly in the next 5 years.
Is that a promise?
Hold me to it.
Ahead, driving an iconic American car into the future. That story is next. We close our show with a look at the history and future of one of our country's classic automobiles. The Ford Mustang has been a powerful symbol of American ingenuity since its debut back in 1964. Chris Van Cleve gets behind the wheel of the newest generation of the iconic sports car.
Hang on as we take the new 2024 Mustang for a spin.
There you go. Now accelerate. You got it. You did it. Woohoo!
Yeah. On this drifting course in the shadow of the Irwindale Raceway outside Los Angeles. Along for the ride, Mustang's lead engineer, Lori Transu.
I'm making my own course now.
You are making your own course. That's okay. You're being a rebel. You're like a target customer now, Chris.
The new 7th generation Mustang will carry the iconic nameplate into its 6th decade, having already sold more than 10 million. The new Mustang is getting some notable upgrades, including an all-digital and customizable dashboard, as well as a special edition 500 horsepower Dark Horse model. What's not changing is the Mustang's V8 engine.
Personally, I think the V8 is part of what makes Mustang iconic. You can close your eyes and you hear a Mustang V8 drive by and you know instantly that was a Mustang. We like to say it's fast, fun, and for everyone.
But Mustang is increasingly riding alone. It's the only passenger car Ford currently makes. Dodge announced plans to electrify its Challenger sports car, while Chevrolet discontinues the Camaro.
Do you foresee the Mustang always having a gas-powered option?
As of right now, we have a gas-powered option. In terms of what happens in the future, we'll wait yet to be seen.
Aerodynamically clean body shapes.
Back in 1962, the Mustang was yet to be seen. But Ford internal memos note the need for a sporty-type car, particularly one with appeal to young buyers, as the baby boomers were coming of age. The new car was dubbed Special Falcon Project. Later that year, the Ford design teams took a stab at what the new sports car might look like. One early model had a cougar emblem, where the pony sits today, and Ford flirted with calling it the Thunderbird II before settling on Mustang ahead of its April 1964 launch.
Lee Iacocca saw the prototype. He said, oh, turn the Mustang around. I want it going west. I want it go like, as in go west, young man. That's where all the young ideas, that's where all the car culture was in the early 60s.
Jay Leno, host of Jay Leno's Garage, has 2 Mustangs in his epic car collection, including a 1965 Shelby.
It just reminded me of my youth, and then when this came out to commemorate it, well, you got to get one of those.
What's your favorite thing about your Mustangs?
Well, I like the sound, like the way they drive, like the way they handle.
And he took us for a ride in this 50th anniversary Shelby, one of only 36 on the road.
It's got power all through the band. I mean, you see when you... I mean, and that's, you know, that's a second gear. That's not even really jumping.
That was second gear?
That's not even jumping on it, really.
Leno remembers as a teen, nearly 60 years ago, waiting to catch a glimpse the day Mustang debuted.
It had the excitement going for it, people waiting to see it. So it was a huge deal when it came out.
It sucked you in. You went down to the dealership to go see it.
Oh, yeah, I went down to the dealership. I took my dad, you know, and we'll go look at the Mustangs. When you go up in a little town in New England, anything with less than 4 doors might as well be a Ferrari.
The car quickly became a pop culture staple, appearing in more than 5,000 movies, TV shows, and music videos. Its big screen debut, James Bond's Goldfinger. And of course, this iconic car chase from the Steve McQueen movie Bullet. The Mustang was a huge hit. In less than 2 years, the 1 millionth rolled off the line.
The formula has always resonated with people, an affordable, sporty coupe. And the Mustang hit the market when that really didn't exist.
Dan Edmonds is the technical editor at Car and Driver.
Fun is a word that keeps coming up with Mustang.
Yeah, fun is, I think, always been the appeal. You know, the styling looks fun. This is a car that came out of the box looking sporty and fun, even though it didn't cost a lot of money. There was always that base model that was approachable, and then engine options for those people who had the money and wanted to actually experience that fun in a visceral way.
At the Flat Rock, Michigan plant building the Mustang, we met forklift driver Christy Storm.
You're a lifelong Mustang owner.
Yes, I am.
So is it kind of a thrill to be working on the Mustang?
It's incredible. Like, it's my dream car. That's all I've ever owned, and now I'm building. Pretty amazing.
Currently, women make up about 1/4 of the nation's auto workers. At Ford, they're nearly 30% of the workforce, up from just 4% when the Mustang first hit the road.
People think muscle cars, they think guys.
Oh, it's women now. It's all women now. Think about it. We're driving them, we're making them, we're engineering them, we're doing it all.
Plant manager Sandy Levisky used to race Mustangs. Now she's responsible for each one rolling off the line.
When you were coming up, was it a job you thought you could get?
When I was coming up, definitely it was not a job that many females went into, definitely. There was 5 of us in a class of 60 electrical engineers. Today there's only 1 of us 5 that is still in the automotive industry. And then looking at my daughter who just got accepted into the engineering program saying to me so simply and easily, I could do that job one day, Mom.
All right, let's try it.
For Lori Transu, leading the Mustang's latest charge is in a way coming full circle. Her first car, a Mustang.
One of the things we want to do is broaden appeal to Mustang to women. So I think having us in these roles gives it a little different flair.
When you started at Ford, how many women were chief engineers of a vehicle?
Oh, I'm not sure I could remember any. Women in engineering was rare. Women in senior leadership roles in engineering was even more rare.
Was this a job that was something that you thought you would be able to have when you started at Ford?
I think I aspired to it, but I think like anybody, I was nervous. When you come in and you don't see anybody like you in some of those roles, it's hard to see a path of how do I get there. That's one of the things I'm most excited about being in my role now, is I'm hoping to influence some young women. It allows them somebody to look to say they achieved it, and how might I do that?
Blazing new trails with the top down and that V8 engine roaring.
For more stories like these and live coverage of breaking news 24/7, stream us right here on CBS News. I'm Michelle Miller. Thank you for watching Eye on America.